Welcome to No Stats, where we call it how we see it. Peach, man, we haven't touched on college basketball yet, in our newly ventured space, in No Stats yet. So I want to dive into the landscape. We got championship week coming around next week. Selection Sunday is next Sunday, and before we know it, it's going to be the tournament. So looking at the field right now, let me know who you like, who you got your eye on, any other major teams, and then any Cinderellas that you might be thinking about as of now.
First off, just a little backstory for everyone out there. Me and Yusef used to skip our college classes to watch the NCAA tournament in the CAF. So
Priorities,
baby. Ain't nothing like basketball in March, man. But to dive right into it, man, I've been able to catch a few teams here and there, not everyone. One team that I can say that I'm a big fan of is Kansas this year. Just from top to bottom, I'm a big fan of Mr. Vic. He's going to be arguably a lottery pick. And just what he brings to the table for Kansas, I feel as though they can go on a deep run.
And they returned 3 starters.
Yeah. So they got that.
Do you think they can go back to back?
Back to back.
I don't know when the
last. College,
man. What? I don't know when the last time the team went back to back. I gotta check that.
They got a chance though, bro. Because I feel as though
they do.
They have that culture, and Bill Self is gonna hold everyone accountable. He's gonna push guys to get the best out of them, which most college coaches want to do, but I feel like Bill Self is one of the ones that does that the most, make guys rise up in that moment. I would say this Alabama team is scary.
They are.
And what's the guy's name again?
They got pro talent.
What's the guy? The small forward.
Was it Brandon Miller? Darius Miller?
Oh man,
I'm drawing a blank on his name.
He is a bucket. He gives me Kevin Durant.
But they have
early.
They have a few, Brandon Miller. But they have a few guys, bro, on that team that have NBA talent. I feel like they have some athletic bucket getters. They board really well, bro. If I'm not mistaken, they in the top, maybe 10th of the league. That top quarter of the league and rebounder. They hit the glass hard. Alabama's a good squad. Real fast, though. Florida, I don't know how I forgot this. Florida was the last team. Joakim Noah. That was the last team.
Was it Mike Conley on that team?
Nah, it was Al Horford, Joakim Noah, Corey Brewer. That's what you think.
Corey Brewer.
2006,
Mike Conley went to what?
Mike Conley.
I got to figure out where he went to college at, because I always thought he was a Florida guy. Fuck it. We'll come back to it.
I know this, bro. This is pissing me off.
I like a dark horse team. So I have two
Ohio
dark
State.
horse teams.
Mike Conley went to
Ohio State.
But go ahead.
My 2 dark horse teams this year, right? One of them is cheesy, and one of them I feel they'll really have the potential to win it all. My cheesy pick is Purdue. I'm a big fan of Edie. I know Purdue always is shopping for these 7-foot gigantic players.
It's like they got a farm in Purdue. They just come out the barn and just play Purdue basketball.
I feel as though Zach Edey is the polish out of all the ones that have came in the past. And you add the guys that they have out there in the perimeter. I think that they could give teams problems if they can slow the game down, feed Zach damn near every play, and just let him go to work. Let him draw the double teams. He kicks out, and then you just live with the results from there. But we're talking about the NCAA tournament, where none of rankings, all that shit, none of that shit matters. So
that's why it's the best.
It's best time of the year, man. My other dark horse team, though, got to be Tennessee, man. I forget the guard's name, bro. But I'm a big fan.
I don't think they're a dark horse, but I think they're kind of a favorite, man. I like Tennessee a lot, man. My thing with Tennessee is at home they look like the best team in the country. on the road, sometimes it makes me think about Tennessee. They let teams hang around. And remember that stretch they lost 2 back-to-back games on buzzer beaters, bro. Like, they just let teams hang around when they shouldn't hang around. They lost to Vanderbilt, and if I'm not mistaken, it was Missouri right after that. The Big 12 is just so loaded, man. And before I get into the Big 12, actually, let me talk about the Big 10. You mentioned Purdue. Purdue definitely has a chance, right? They're up there in that top. I think they might be they're right now they're projected as a 1 seed. I think they might be like ranked 4th or 5th in the nation right now. Purdue is another team that just the letdowns that I don't think they should have, right? Like they lost to Indiana twice. I think that
Twice this year,
bro.
Wow.
On the road and at home, and that's a Big 10 team. Who
I want to
Indiana's
go back
good.
and look at those games.
Yeah, they got
I wanna
Trace
see
David
what
Jackson.
How did they match up? Was you able to catch any of that? How was they able to match up?
Indiana just ran them. Indiana made shots, and Indiana doesn't even have the height. Like Zach Edey was supposed to dominate in that game, but they were able to outmuscle them. And kind of not make him a non-factor, but it didn't. He couldn't take over the game. He couldn't take control of the game, right? Mm-hmm. They just match up really well for some reason. They play with energy. They just look like the team who as soon as tip off, they look like the team that wanted more. Like they have something to prove, Indiana. And they outplayed them both times. I didn't think Purdue was going to lose twice, but that kind of set me back on Purdue. They lost to Northwestern on a Sunday afternoon. I forget. This might have been a couple weeks ago. Purdue, I don't know, man. It's hard to trust Big Ten teams in the tournament. And the Big Ten has a lot of them. Iowa looks good when they're hitting their threes. Purdue, of course, looks good. Maryland looks good, but at home they lost to Rutgers today. Who else? I'm leaving out a few teams. Michigan State.
Who you think comes out of the Big Ten? Like, who takes the conference this year?
That's a good question. That's tough, bro. That's tough. I don't know, man.
Go to so
Illinois
many.
is there. Illinois might not. I guess I would have to go Purdue by default. Mm-hmm. Michigan is too iffy. Michigan State is, but maybe Michigan. I would like to see Michigan win. I would like to see Juwan Howard and Michigan win the Big Ten. That's who I would like.
Get the brother some love, man. Get
love. If I had to point, but going back to my previous topic, what I was about to get into, the Big 12, bro, is so good. They're so deep in that conference, man. In my mind, somebody from that conference has to win a national title. You got Kansas, who you just mentioned. You have Oklahoma. Texas. You have Oklahoma's not even at the top of that conference, bro. But you have Texas. You have TCU. You have Iowa State. You have even a team like Oklahoma, who if they sneak in, they've been beating a couple of these top teams I'm mentioning. The Big 12 is just so good, bro. Kansas State is playing great basketball right now. It's talent all throughout that Big 12. You mentioned Kansas. I like TCU. I like TCU so much, man. I know they lost Mike Miles for a little while, and he came back, and I still think he's getting worked into that rotation, back into the the groove of things. He hyperextended his knee, but when he was playing, they played Kansas in Kansas, bro, and beat them by like 15 plus, maybe 20 plus, bro. Just ran Kansas, and granted, Kansas just beat them in TCU, but it was a closer game. I just think when TCU is playing their best, I love the way they're playing. I love it, bro. And I think they got a chance if they get there.
Both programs is doing well, man, on both sides of the field, to be honest with you, football and basketball.
True. And then you got the SEC, like you said, Tennessee, Alabama. They'll be interesting down the stretch.
You know what team I want to ask you about? Your take on it? Miami.
Miami has some guards, man. Miami,
Long,
they look good.
That coach.
Absolutely.
Shout out my boy Corey Calais too down there. He's on the coaching staff.
Yeah. Shout out to Corey. I remember Corey. But I like Miami. I think they're a team, though, if they're not making shots, they can get upset. They can get upset.
They're
I
scrappy, though.
They are scrappy, bro.
Rugged, doggish. Like, when you got a dog team, I feel as though they can fight and claw their way back into any type of game. But, you know, it always goes back to the landscape that's laid out. And that once that tournament starts, everything that's happened prior to that, all that's out the window, man. And it really shows who's ready for this type of field. So I think Miami is a team that can turn a lot of heads in the tournament this year. What type of run did they make last year?
Miami didn't make too deep of a run if I recall correctly. But my thing with Miami, bro, is the ACC. The ACC hasn't been what we expected it to be this year, bro.
Sad, man.
Duke is playing really well at home. North Carolina is the last four out. They might not make it. They're on that bubble. And this is a team that was in the NCAA championship last year and returned four starters. Right? Everyone thought North Carolina was going back. In the beginning of the seasons, I think they had the second best odds to get back to win a national championship.
Wasn't they the number one team, right?
They might have been.
They opened up as number one.
Virginia just doesn't impress me. They don't have no weight. They get killed on the glass. So the ACC
I do
is
like their guard. I do like their guard, though, even though he's been there like 7 years. You know who I'm talking about. I
do. A light-skinned guard with the hair.
Yeah, he's a dog, and I've watched him grow.
I want to give him props and say his name. But go ahead. What you were saying, bro?
Nah, that's basically what I was saying. Like I was a big fan of him and stuff like that. Let me get your. If you had to, if it came down to one team that you think could take it all, who would it be?
All right, I'm gonna go here, and this is a team that I don't think is getting enough respect. I don't think it's getting enough credit. I think they're being slept on, and the coach came out and said that they're being slept on. And I think they're gonna ride this momentum. Right? It's always good to get that extra. Oh, you don't believe in us when you're a good team, and it's UCLA. They're not giving UCLA enough credit. They're fourth in the nation right now, right? So the committee is giving them credit as far as, national ranking. But you hear a lot of Kansas, you hear a lot of Alabama, you hear a lot of Houston. And that's another team that I have my worries.
Houston got I got worries, but when I look at them, they're like bruisers. Like, their two guard looks like a NFL linebacker. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, and they play defense.
They're a big team. Like,
yep. No, and they play defense, bro. I'm sorry. I just want to. I'm sorry for taking my eyes off too long. I just want to figure out this guard name. I want to give him some credit. Clark,
yes, from Virginia.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Virginia, yes.
But my thing with Houston is the conference, man, and it's always been my problem with Gonzaga. You play in a conference where you playing Temple, you playing East Carolina, you playing Memphis, you playing Tulane, you playing Tulsa, right? So I don't think that you don't build that playing in tough games a lot. Like, Houston has been blowing everybody out. They lost to Temple this year, and I think that puts a big blemish on Houston's Houston's resume. They're still the number one seed. Don't get me wrong; they play really well, but I need to see a team in conferences like that show up when it's time to show up. Gonzaga's another team that middle of the season we like, all right, this Gonzaga team's not it. It's not the Gonzaga team that
happens all the time for some reason. Why is that, though? Is it the conference or?
I think it's the conference, but the conference has gotten better. St. Mary's is a really good team. San Francisco plays well, plays them well. You got BYU. That WCC conference is good. But I think Gonzaga's playing better now, though. I think Gonzaga's figuring it out.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Where was you going with that?
I think Gonzaga's on the up. They're trending up, right? At this point of the year, you have teams trending down, you have teams trending up, right? And you want to ride with those teams that's trending up at this time of the year. It's late basketball. You're going into championship week conference tournaments, and you want to see teams that's rocking.